Okay, so everybody, we're here with April Lindevald, who is absolutely wonderful. She is an intuitive counselor, psychic medium, and channel. She is in tag team and she channels Merlin. Welcome. This is Rachel Chamness, your host of this channel, Sound Waves Heal. And this video is a spotlight for a master practitioner at Sound Waves Heal, who has completed most or all of my courses and is a master channel. You'll find a new video almost every Saturday of a practitioner or a current student, as it's my mission to empower and uplift my students. If you were able to hear her or see her on my podcast, we had a nice long chat and she channeled Merlin. I asked questions and we're going to do that again. So hi.
It's always a privilege to be here with you and always fun.
So we want to ask Merlin some questions. We're talking about Atlantis a lot because that's what we're doing this month in TAG. We're working with Atlantis and we're working with Merlin because we love him. We want to bring him.
If we're going to get right to it, I should get him over here.
Well, we don't have to get right to it. We can talk a little bit. We didn't bring you on just for Merlin. We love you too.
No, it's perfectly okay. I mean, he said he was coming and he said he would answer questions. So,
you know what I'd like to talk about before you bring him in is I want to remind everyone, if you haven't seen it, it is on my YouTube page. But remember the 999?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. We did Atlantis in TAG, and you brought us to the 999 machine. You want to tell everybody about that? Because I think it's fascinating.
That was one of the most remarkable things that I was doing these twice a month channelings, and I'm still doing it, right? But I was very new to it, and this was one of the most remarkable things because I guess I went pretty deep. And I asked him, what are we doing for our live? And he said, well, we're just going to talk about some healing stuff in Atlantis. And then he took us through this whole thing about the 999. He said the Atlanteans, one of the reasons they lived so long is because they had these healing technologies that had to do with capturing light energy and crystals, using crystals. In the really tip-top times of Atlantis, they had commerce with angels and unicorns, and they knew it. You know, they really worked with them, and they were probably a higher dimension, at least fifth dimensional, and it was easier for them to be interacting. The 999 was the apex of a regeneration, and it took a lot of energy from the big crystal in the center of the temple. And so every person got a chance to do it at a certain point, kind of like a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. They got to do this to sort of like prime their body cells and regenerate. They also reserved it for like special rewards. Like you could earn a chance at the 999 if you had done something really wonderful for your community, or if you were a leader, or if you had, and basically you got to go in and be like in this table, which was on top of crystals, and then the roof would open up and there was a big crystal hanging over you, and there were different colors that would be for your mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies to regenerate and replenish their energy. And there were angels and unicorns around to help. And also temple personnel who lived there and were serving whoever came in for any kind of. There were other healings beside that. You could come in for healings, but none of them were as powerful as that. And Merlin always said that, you know, he got to do it a few times and he learned a lot of technology about how to regenerate his body cells when he left Atlantis later on. I mean, he lived a couple hundred years there. And then when he left Atlantis and went to Avalon in the British Isles, he said he knew some things, how to sort of regenerate. And it's why the legend came into being that he lived his life backwards, because people would see him looking really old and raggedy. And then he would kind of like go into his like sleep mode and kind of regenerate. And he would come back looking all young again. And people would be like, wait a minute, you can't be this good person. So that's why they started that legend that he lived his life like backwards.
I have chills. I've always wondered about that. That is so cool. And here we do have a question for Merlin already by Christine. What was our work like in Atlantis?
Let me go ahead and invite him to come speak to you. You can hear me anytime, but, you know, we'll get him. It is very interesting. I'm always pleased and excited to be asked and invited to come and speak with you and teach and also recount tales of the time we were together in Atlantis. Most of us were there at some point or another, and most of us knew one another, which is why we are gathered here again together today in this new incarnation, in new time and space. It is interesting to me that always for millennia I have existed, and the most of the questions come are about Atlantis, or perhaps the time in Avalon. But it is not so unusual, because you are about to be on the threshold of a new golden age, and it is natural for you to wish to remember the good parts and the things that will give you a foreshadowing of what you have to look forward to and what you should be envisioning or imagining in order to speed the process forward. So yes, I am happy to do this. All right. The question was about work in Atlantis. Yes, we are hopeful that in the new golden age, we will begin to recapture the idea that work and play and purpose are all linked, and that everyone comes into incarnation with certain skills and leanings and preferences and talents that they wish to share for the greater good. When we are fifth dimensional or higher, we do think more about the greater good, not so much our own personal careers or personal aggrandizement or praise or accomplishment. We do not measure success in those terms. We wish to contribute to the smooth running of the civilization. And this is not in the way of an automaton. It is in the way of joyfully having a purpose, a thing to do when you wake up in the morning that you enjoy and that you are very good at. And that sometimes may be frustrating or burdensome or difficult, but it is also, you are learning, you are contributing, and you feel like a part of the whole that is valuable and valued. And so you have work. There are healers, of course, and most of the healers work more with energetics and with sound and with light and with energetic rays, with herbals and with heat and cold as well. There are many, many ways. And also some are connected to special streaming energies from galactic partners and unicorns. And so those healers are arrayed in the temples, in the various temples, and they are able to be selected for whatever the problem is. And of course, the people of Atlantis are mostly fairly healthy, but there is a slow aging process, and there is also accidents that could happen, or even diseases or toxic things that could happen, which can easily be dealt with. There are musicians who play music, and there are musicians who write music and create music and spontaneously create music in solo or in groups. There are shopkeepers, believe it or not. There's a whole street where there's a market where people bring their wares that are creative, such as basketry, such as ceramics, such as decorative arts and woven things and fabric and clothing. And there is dye, and there is jewelry that people do like to adorn themselves, and sometimes with a spiritual symbolism some of the jewelry has. And there are, of course, marketplaces which sell edibles as well, such as the produce from your garden, the what is farmed, what is raised, bread that is created from all of that, different other kinds of preserves and jams and vegetables that are already pre-prepared and ready to give you for an edible. There are people who specialize in caring for animals. There are people who raise animals and who are also healers of animals, trainers of animals. There are wordsmiths who will write things for you. If you should need a document or an agreement or a contract, I suppose they are more like lawyers in some ways. There are people who give transportation, who you may call for some sort of vehicle to go from one place to another, and they will provide that. For it is not necessary for every being to have. There's much walking, and there are agreements with some of the animals to do that transportation. And there are some other highly technological transportation modes as well. In the height of Atlantis, there were people who could actually transport themselves, like on Star Trek. There were people who could do that. Not everyone, but the highest trained, highly vibrational, upper scale vibrational people were experimenting with doing some of these things was their own. And then, of course, you wonder sometimes in communities like this about the more onerous jobs that others, who is going, if you do not pay them or you do not have incentives, and if you do not force them and you have no slaves, who is going to do the onerous jobs that no one wants to do, such as clean out the latrines or clean in general or plow or take the garbage away? And there are those who really prefer, and some of them are the highest vibrational people because they may wish to have more time, for example, for study and meditation to better themselves. And so they are happy to put all their energies into this for their own their self development, and to put in a few hours each week to clean latrines or to take away garbage. And they find joy in that because it is a way to contribute, and it is easy and leaves their mind free for other more intense pursuits. And so usually everything is covered. And there are those who will volunteer if it is not covered. Everyone wishes for the community to run smoothly. And nobody crosses their arms and says, not me, I don't do such things. It is beneath me, or it is not in my scope, or I would not like to. Or no one does that because there is an understanding that what everyone contributes together makes sure that we all have everything we need. And in a time of crisis, for example, of a drought or a pestilence or anything like that, there are many people who come forward to just give their skills or just their brute strength or their hands to contribute with the group to repair or fix or assist with those emergencies that come up in every society. So there is no need for negotiating salaries or fees, and there is none who are without occupation, and there are none who are without their basic needs and a little more than that.
That's beautiful. I love hearing about that. That reminds me many things I've been thinking about. Michael Tellinger talks about as well. We have a lot of questions for you. I'm so excited.
Oh, okay, I shall be a little more succinct.
I'm so excited you're here. Thank you so much. Here's a really good question about Atlantis. What was the predominant food source then?
Yes, you understand that Atlantis actually existed for 1,500 years. So there were segments of the time when things were perhaps a little different. But I assume you wish to know about the height, the golden age, the best. And in those times, it was fairly well accepted that we did not eat animals. There was too much of a sensitivity to the feelings of sentient beings that it would be appalling to someone to say, let's slaughter an animal and eat bacon or something. You would feel the fear within the meat, and it would feel like disgusting to you. It wasn't a choice so much as just as some of you perhaps might feel about eating escargot or liver or something. You would say, ugh, I would not touch such a thing. And this would be even more intense than that because you would feel emotionally the wrongness of it. You would resonate with a sense of absolute abhorrence to such a thing. And so plant-based foods were most of what were eaten. And that applies even to fish. We did not even eat fish. There was a time when that was somewhat, sea creatures were consumed, and in some of the ages, but at the peak of things, the fish are sentient too and can be almost domesticated. And so we did not do that. And grains that could be made into baked goods, things like bread and baked goods. And you did have many kinds of vegetable items and fruits. And you had ones that you could eat fresh and cold, and you had ways of preparing and cooking or heating them so that they could also be eaten in cooked stews or preserves, as I said before. And there were also, and we had everything from a tree to grown things, to grains, to tubers. Everything grew on that island. That was a very fertile island, and it had ample water supply and lots of sunshine. By consent, there were times when we did eat things like eggs and cheese, which when the animals would give that, they were not abused. They were not forced, for example, to leave their children so that we could have the milk. It was an agreement, and they got a world that was, their needs were taken care of, and they were willing to donate some of what they could give. And that applies also to wool from sheep and goats, so that there could be clothing made from that. animals did work with us, and there were, as I said, agreements so that nothing was harmed irreparably or killed or put through long abusive lives.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did Atlanteans need to eat, or was it more celebration? Did they get some sort of source of life force from the sun or other ways of?
That is a very good question. I would say Atlanteans ate more sparsely than you do. We did not need as many calories. And even though we were an energetic people and we did much walking and there were athletes and energy was needed to grow from children, of course, but we also did get energy from direct sunshine and from energetic work that we would do on ourselves. But there was a general feeling that all the souls that had come to incarnate in Atlantis had come to incarnate to experience the density of life and to experience the sensual pleasures of life as well. And there was no guilt or shame associated with any of that. And so the sensual pleasures include things like using your senses, taste and smell and texture, and sharing, as you said, with community, sharing the breaking of bread, sharing a meal, sharing a beverage together. And so there was a balance between eating and drinking for the sake of celebration, for the sake of community, for the sake of socializing, for the sake of sensory pleasure, but not overindulgence. And always there was a very much of a connection. Most Atlanteans had a connection with their body where they could feel they wished to keep it at its peak. Not that everyone was an athlete, but that they wished to keep it at peak performance. And that meant overindulgence in any of those things would be usually not allowed, well, not chosen.
Okay, and here's a related question: was herbology or essential oils, were they used in
Yes.
Atlantean times?
Yes, very much so. Very much so throughout. The relationship with each other and the relationship with Mother Earth and the idea that we were grounded here and that we were here for a reason. I mean, we could be in our spirit bodies somewhere else and not experience all of these things. And so why come? Why be here? Why have this adventure? And so the relationship with Mother Earth had us feeling grateful and connected for all that Mother Earth afforded us. Not just a platform to stand on, but materials to protect us from weather, materials to build homes, materials for our nourishment, materials for our enjoyment, materials for our healing. And so, yes, crystals is one thing that comes from the mineral kingdom, and the plant kingdom would provide us with many, many kinds of healing balms and pain relievers, things to boost general health and energy. There were those who were expert plant lore and herbology and essential oils, and in using them for healing in every arena of healing. As you know, they can be used for physical healing, but also for mental, emotional, spiritual cleansing as well.
Okay, and we also have this question: what about an herbal sunscreen, or was that needed?
I do not believe our skin was as reactive or as sensitive to the rays of the sun. And in some ways, also, there's something that I'm not expert in about ultraviolet radiation and the damage it can do, but that was not a factor so much in the early days, perhaps because of the mantle of protection that was afforded in the atmosphere. But yes, we used the herbal, or we could make creams and balms, and we could make oils to be used to keep skin fresh and youthful, and probably also for protection from any kind of sun drying or sun damage.
Okay. Is there a timeline where Atlantis did not sink?
That is an impressive question. No, there are civilizations that exist today in your earth where there are cadres of people who came from Atlantis and brought much with them, and they are still existing. And some of them they're in different dimensions, and so some of them are very close to you and almost perceptible, and some are perhaps living out their lives in a higher dimension that you will not access. But there are key timelines are a funny thing, because if you can imagine going along, in the time space-time continuum, and you can imagine a sort of a line where there are many threads, and they intertwine, and they go off in directions and come together again and go off, and some of them go off fairly far in different directions, but there are what I would call, for your benefit, thumbtacks. There are thumbtacks in personal incarnation timelines. There are also thumbtacks in bigger, grander schemes of things where and this is difficult to explain too, because it almost implies that the death of Atlantis was always known and always expected, and that is not so. There were choices to be made, and it did not have to go in that direction. But once the choices were made, there were varieties, delays, different things, but everything had to culminate at that place where there was an ending. And there are things that are even above my comprehension that only Source understands, because it is a very complex universe. And I am in a place where I have absorbed much knowledge and understanding and wisdom, more than you have had the opportunity to do. But there are things that we will maybe always ask the question of the mystery of. We can always say, what would have happened had the priests changed things and perhaps avoided this decimation? But there is so much then that would not have happened in the history of humanity, which perhaps needed to happen for all of what Source intended for its own education.
That makes sense to me.
Really, I hope so.
Well, Jody has a question. Are many of us here to break the cycle of slavery that happened to us and our ancestral line in Atlantis, and take back our power from the evil that tricked us? That's a question.
Yes. You have heard stories of a powerful neck collar or some sort of enslavement, which did happen very much towards the end. And this was applied to those who did not agree with those that were in power at the time, or those that, the entire society and the willingness to do things was falling apart. And so people were forced to do things they did not feel were correct, and that they were not in line with their own preferences or their abilities. And also they were being subdued because they did not support those who were tyrannical and what they had been doing to the society. And so, there were many who ended up being forced into these very powerful collars. And they were physical. And of course, most of you have been through many incarnations. Since then, you passed away. You do not have a physical collar around you. But the memory and the inhibiting force of that has been strong over the millennia. And many of you have had experience of being limited or held back, or having your memories taken, or being in subservient positions. And yes, it is time for all of that to be dissolved. Most of it has been. And it is a matter of choice. It is a matter of opening your eyes and knowing that you are more powerful than this memory, and that you understand the source of your own power, which is directly from Source, which can overcome any attempt to hold it back or hold it in thrall. And so, yes, one by one, your chains are falling away. Your ignorance is falling away. Your limitations are falling away. Your memories of being abused are falling away, and your wounds. This is all part of your shadow work, and it is all part of your coming out and shining as beacons for all, and showing them that we are, as humans, all beloved children of one Source, and all having access to the qualities and the power and the energy of that Source. Not something you should worry about now. It is going. It is almost gone.
Here's an interesting question, veering a little bit from Atlantis, but what was your favorite life experience here in the 3D? Have you ever been on Earth in the third dimensional aspect, or only when it's been a higher dimension?
My life with Britain was a beautiful life. It is why it is remembered so fondly by others. And I would say it was not entirely 3D, but mostly partly in the flesh on this earth with the amazing people that were beginning to step forward that I loved dearly. And that included the priestesses of Avalon and the druids that were white druids and were attempting to bring spirit into a very dark world. And the beings that you know from your Legends of the Round Table, which again, it was a fleshly existence, but I cannot place it for you precisely in the time space timeline that you know.
Well, that's lovely. Okay, we have a few other questions that are interesting. What can you say about the frequent, intense jumping timelines that most of us are experiencing here for the past few months?
Oh dear. Well, this is not something we are doing to you. It is something that you are basically exploring yourself, and it is not consistent with each of you has a different experience with this. Some have had no experience with it, and others have had a great deal. If you think about your Plato, your great philosopher Plato from the ancient Greeks, he was trying to access an understanding of grand theory of all and spirit especially. He had some sort of he wrote about a parable of someone on a trampoline or jumping, and they were obscured from seeing the beautiful life ahead of them, and they could jump on the trampoline, and for a moment they would be in a place where they could see and know perfection, but they would always be falling back down onto the trampoline. And so you have many timelines. They're not all good or bad or judged at. Well, some are slower, some are slower towards ascension, some are good slower towards ascension for your own safety. Some are more adventurous, some are more rich with experience. Some are miserable because for whatever reason, you have chosen to continue patterns that you don't need to continue, or perhaps you are being taught something or expanded. And you are now learning your multidimensionality, and you are reaching for higher timelines. You are asking for higher timelines. You are asking to ascend faster. And so you are taking a reach and grasping a moment and then falling back into the one that is more grooved in for you. And sometimes you are trying others and sort of reaching in for a moment, for a second. And those timelines show you something that may have been a little bit jarring for you because they do not follow the logical progression of where you are in your general life. So this is an interesting phenomenon that is happening because the veils are dissolving and all the timelines are beginning to come together more, and you have more awareness and you're vibrating at a higher vibration to be able to experience in your own multidimensionality. But in the meantime, it is safer, I will say, to move into a new timeline at juncture points which are provided for you, where you make decisions that take you in new directions, than to sort of leap around. And sometimes you don't feel you have control over that, but you will eventually. Does that make any sense to anyone?
Yes, it does. Okay, here's a great question. Were you incarnated with any of us here listening in the times of Atlantis or Avalon?
Oh, yes. In fact, most of you actually in living in Atlantis for several hundreds of years. And I was most of the time a teacher and a priest, but they are very much the same thing in Atlantis. And you are all my beloved students. We are here together today because you have been drawn into this group, and you have been drawn to come and listen to me speak because you remember me, because I hope fond memories of our interactions. I loved what I did, and I loved my students, and they were at all different levels. And many of you took very, very powerful initiations and became priests and teachers yourselves. And I've been so proud of you. You have carried those initiations and that knowledge and that deep understanding, which you achieved there through many, many lifetimes and millennia. And it is still within you. It is in your DNA. As we are drawn together to help achieve this ascension process, we will remember more and more about the times we spent together. But yes, I have known most of you personally in different lifetimes. And many of those I knew in Atlantis reappeared, of course, in Avalon. And we worked together once again in a very special and sacred place and a very special and critical time. And so, yes, we have been as a part of a family again and again and again.
I love it. And everyone is saying that they have goosebumps. I have goosebumps. People are saying they're crying. They're resonates so well. And that's beautiful. So we have a few questions that are really nice, but they look like they might take a long time. So I'm going to ask a few questions and maybe you can give us a good, but maybe a little short answer.
I will try, but I will also tell them that I will take into account their curiosities in the next times that I come forward as a presenter.
Okay.
You know that I am coming on air several times in your month, and if I know that there is a question or an issue that those of you wish to know about, I will tell this channel that this will be our subject. Yes?
Okay. So here's one. How can we heal ourselves and our families? This is from Lisa.
Yes, that is a very large question.
That's what I
And there are
thought.
many approaches to this and many types of healing that must be done. And if you are asking the question, I will make it short. If you are asking this question, you are already doing it. You are conscious and you are putting your intention into healing yourself in whatever way you mean. If you mean psychologically, emotionally, peace in your being, or the connections between family members perhaps need to be healed. And I will say that at this point in your development, it will be more powerful for you to work with intentions, visualization, and energy than it will be for you to try to repair or heal others who are resistant or blocked from you or lost in their grudges and whatever. It is more powerful for you to send them loving, powerful, uplifting, clearing energies and visualizations of what you wish to occur in every case. That will do better for you. You will waste your time arguing with them and trying to do this on the 3-dimensional level.
Oh, I love that answer. Christina wants to know, how does our collective vibratory state look like from your perspective? Like, how are we doing here?
Oh, wow. It has been said, for example, that when the angels look at humans, they only see the light. They see individual stamps like snowflakes, each one different, each one enclosed in different colors and different patterns. And it is a beautiful thing because there's no two alike. And they see that the light. In other words, people will say things like, I am fat. Angels will not love me because I am fat, or I am broken, or I have lost a limb, or I am not good. And the angels, I've been told the angels only see the energy of the light. They do not see any flaws in your physical body. They do not see you as fat. They see more light. And so I also see that way, but I see you a little bit more as your personality, your souls. Now, as far as how far along, yes, we see the masses of people on the earth who are still sleeping, perhaps, or are still unaware of their possibilities. They are still light, but they are not the most brightest bulb in the cabinet, so to speak. They are, masses of kind of small little dots that are, and every now and then you will see something sort of flare up and sort of boom, maybe a moment to shine brightly, and maybe at some point permanent, and then you will see the colors come out, and you will see it like just like a candle flame that suddenly has gotten to a part of the wick where it is nourished and sort of spurts up in a big flame. And then when we look at the collectives of people who are all over the place having a moment of like the light bulb going off over their head, so to speak, you understand, oh my goodness, it is not what I've been told. It is this. It is more. It is beautiful. It is good. It is eternal. And then you see these collectives of people just lighting up the place, and their lights all mingling so that it's like just a big wonderful festive place where many souls gather and shine. And it is becoming more common. It is spreading. It is contagious. You are part of that.
I love it. I love it. Everyone is just loving all of this. Here's a really nice question I want to know the answer to myself. Is there a particular song or symbol we can recognize here in the 3D to know your consciousness is present with us?
How lovely of you to wish to. Some of you may know that I resonate with the purple ray. And I would say when you start to see purples spring up in various, you're aware of purple suddenly showing up in your life. I'm there, especially if it's an illogical place for it to be, such as a purple car going by or a purple house or something. You'll know that I am laughing with you and making your attention focus on such things. I will say any song that has the word magic in it, I will make it from this day forward that if you are moving around and you hear somebody playing a song and it has the word magic, pay attention because you're about to get a message.
Oh, I love it. That's wonderful.
We will play this game. We in the upper echelons here and the vibrations, we wait and wait and wait for your attention, for you to know that we're here, for you to communicate with us. And unfortunately, it is as if it has been, not now, and not you so much, but it has been as if you are walking along your road with your eyes down on the pavement, counting the pebbles and the cobblestones. And we are up there going, hello, hello, hello. We would like to connect with you. And so when you give us any kind of a little opening, a little clue, a little game, something, when you find the dime on the road there with your eyes down, somebody's trying to communicate with you. And if you say to us, oh, whenever I see a dime, I will think of angel so-and-so, then that angel will put dimes all over the place trying to get your attention. And so I will say, watch for the word magic. You see it, you hear it, it is on the wall, it is somewhere. You will know I am waving at you.
I am really going to be listening now for the word magic for you. And speaking of magic, and also this is really funny, Katie actually meant to say, is there a particular sign or symbol? But I
That's a
think
good
that,
song.
so it's just a happy song is more
We will
fun.
have more fun with this way.
And then we have a question from Christina. How can we embrace our magic more?
It is everywhere. It is all things are here by magic. And when you can look at everything in the world and see how amazingly it is created, how incredibly interwoven everything is, and how you fit into this and how you participate in it. The first thing is awareness that there is nothing ordinary in the world that is not truly extraordinary just below the surface. And especially all the incredible connections and the way things work together. And then the next step is to begin to consciously choose to use magic in your life. And I will say, because once you understand that you are powerful, more powerful than you could imagine, when you set the intention for your day, for example, whether it's the night before or in the morning, if you set the intention and say, today will be a marvelous day, everything will move smoothly and everything will conspire for my highest good and my best joy. And it will be easy world. All the challenges that I have to face will evaporate and I will find solutions to all things. And you will say, I ask this and I expect it in the name of my soul and its great power and its connection to source. And if you practice that, it is not that you will not have anything burdensome in your life, but you will find that things begin to converge in your favor the way you have set the intention. This is magic. This is alchemy. This is manifestation. And so those are two small bits, but they're the world of magic. All it is seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary and knowing that you have the power to transform and to attract, to remove, to clear, and to transform within yourself.
I already feel like there's more magic in my life just from having this conversation with you.
Oh,
Thank you so much for coming.
you are kind.
It's beautiful. And everyone is really loving it. So we really thank you for coming and talking to us.
I am always, well, we do not have ego exactly in this vibrational space, but for the memory of ego, I do so much enjoy the attention. And I do so much enjoy having the connection with such amazing people and those of you who I already have known. And I am willing to be connected with at any time you wish, and willing to be a teacher once again.
Oh, we really enjoy it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, truly. I will withdraw with a blessing for all of you, that
Thank you.
your curiosity and your desire to grow and your open hearts that are so filled with love and wonder are a blessing to this world. And therefore we bless you, all of us here, your angels, your guides, the galactics, the fae, all of the elementals who walk beside you. We bless you. We are here to help at any time, and we revere your courage on this journey. And we'll see you again. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. That was so great. Thank you.
It's amazing for me because, and this is good because I know a lot of you there do channel now, or are studying channeling, or are exploring it. It's amazing for me because I'm there the whole time, but I don't have time to make stuff up. I couldn't really be making all of that up, really.
Right?
He uses things that are in my head as reference points. Like he'll use pop culture references, or he'll use parables that I know, where it's like this, but it's not coming from me.
Do you ever feel like, technically we're letting them speak through us, but does it ever feel like you're sort of sitting in their brain, like watching them? Sometimes I feel when I trans-channel, it's like I'm watching his thoughts, or I'm behind the scenes in his brain a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's true. Actually, it's like I mean, he comes, he overshadows you in a way, or whoever it is you're working with, overshadows you, and it's just like, it's my turn now. I'm going to talk, so get out of the way, basically. And I'm there, and I'm hearing it all. It feels like I'm a part of it, but it doesn't feel like I could know all of that stuff.
Right. It's almost like you can see that when you're channeling someone or a being, it's like you can kind of see them putting the answer together in their brain a little bit. It's almost like it's like you're watching. I mean, sometimes
yes, they do.
It's really
fumble.
cool.
They can fumble. He fumbles sometimes with language or with how to describe something that in a way that's understandable to us, or the right words.
It's so great.
I love it. I just feel like you can come in my mind anytime you want.
Right? Well, everybody, April Lindevald's an intuitive counselor. She's a psychic medium and channel. She's been a tarot reader for over, 35, 40 years, something like that. And she also does sessions where Merlin will give you information. She'll do tarot. I mean, you do all kinds of sessions. I love sessions with you and Merlin. And so you can find her on Facebook at Be the Wizard. And I'll put up your session link. She's a Soundwaves Hill practitioner. She's also on Tag Team. Of course, she's our original Tag Team. Actually, you were one of the very first. So you can also just have a session with her if you like.
It was the best parts of my month.
Oh, it's so much fun. I love watching those. And they really are like being in a room with Merlin who's teaching it. Like it really feels like that. I feel like that helps the mystery school aspect of tag so much, because that is like where you really feel like you're in some other place being taught by Merlin. It's so, those visualizations are so rich and beautiful.
I don't want to say it's easy, but I know it's like I just kind of go flip the switch and then he just goes. It's like it's not a struggle. And I remember I've written about this, but I remember going back to early days when people started to channel, and it was like a real hokey weirdo thing. And some of the people that were channeling were like, I had one woman that I adored who taught beautifully, and she channeled Archangel Azrael, and she channeled Andrea, the disciple, who is a master now. And before she could do it on the phone, she'd do it on the phone. She was in Texas and I wasn't. And she would have like 5-10 minutes of a horrible burping and gasping. And, it was just like this huge, energetic, physical burden. And now it's not, and I'm so grateful. I'm grateful not to have to go through that, but whether to listen or to do it. We must have raised ourselves some, because it's just like a flow now. It's just you find the resonance. It's like you find the radio station and you just kind of turn the knob to that radio station and they just go.
especially when it's someone you channel all the time, which is what I call the partner guide. It's very easy for me to bring in Alpar BM. Yeah, because I do it so often. So.
And don't you feel like if that's those particular ones, I mean, you do so many, but those particular ones are because you've had like a long history with them somehow, or you're connected with them?
Yeah, because they're our partner guide. Like they have chosen us to bring their messages through, and we've done it so many times. They show me it's like neurotransmitters in your brain. It's like you've done it so many times, it becomes wider, and it's like it's a channel, it's a connection. It's very easy to plug into once you do it a lot. And I always tell my trance students, the more you practice, the faster and the easier it is to get into it.
That totally makes sense. And just quickly, do you think that might save us from Alzheimer's?
Maybe.
Just, it was a curiosity. I just wondered if.
I wonder if it will. I can ask my pendulum. They're saying not quite Alzheimer's, because they're showing me that's deposits in the brain.
It's physical, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're saying if you were to have like a stroke and then you had to build new neurotransmitters, this is something that could help. But they say there's many ways to help that. I don't really understand, but that's what they're just showing it to me that way.
Okay.
So everyone who's here, if you want to get in touch with April, she's wonderful. And if you're in TAG, you already know how wonderful she is. She's live all the time. And you can see some of her lives from past TAG. You can search her on my channel on YouTube. We've put a few of them up in YouTube so you can watch some of them. Well, thank you, April. Thanks for coming on. And thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. And thank you, Rachel, for inviting us. We enjoyed it very much.
Oh, I loved it. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.